I mean, he's 83 years old, so he's rolling with our 20 and 16-year-old at Coachella. Go, Clint.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to break your leg because I'm heavy.
But I've got to, you're not that heavy, really. And you can come to my office anytime.
Picture this: Carmel by the Sea, California, July 2024. Hollywood legend Clint Eastwood, now 94, releases a heartbreaking statement about the death of his longtime companion, Christina Sandera. But what the world didn't know was that her passing would trigger a cascade of revelations from women who had remained silent for decades. Women whose lives were forever changed by the man behind the iconic cowboy persona. For over 50 years, these secrets had been buried beneath Eastwood's carefully crafted image as America's tough guy hero.
And the Oscar for the Best Picture of 1992 goes to...
And the Oscar goes to...
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood for Unforgiven.
But in 2025, a bombshell biography titled Clint, the Man and the Movies would finally expose the truth about Hollywood's most notorious womanizer and the devastating trail of broken hearts he left behind. Tonight, we're revealing the 5 shocking secrets that Clint Eastwood's former lovers finally exposed after keeping silent for half a century. From forced abortions to secret children hidden from the world to manipulative tactics that destroyed careers and marriages. This isn't just another Hollywood scandal. This is the explosive testimony of women who were silenced by power, money, and fear, but who are now speaking their truth. Why are these revelations surfacing now? Because at 94, with most of his contemporaries dead and his own mortality looming, the women who suffered in silence finally found the courage to speak. The 2025 biography by Sean Levy included devastating quotes from Eastwood himself, admitting his affairs were addictive, like you have to have another cigarette. But the real bombshells came from the women who lived through his decades of deception. And what triggered this avalanche of confessions was the death of Christina Sandera in July 2024. As the last woman to share Eastwood's life publicly, her passing seemed to release others from an unspoken pact of silence. For the first time in 50 years, they were ready to tell the world what it was really like to love Clint Eastwood. What started as casual flirtation on set quickly escalated into something much deeper. Crew members recalled how Eastwood would finish a scene and immediately walk over to Tunis, placing his arm around her as they strolled the set together. There was no attempt to hide their relationship from the cast and crew. One source revealed, on the set, they were very open about the fact they were lovers. After Clint would finish a scene, he'd amble over to Roxanne and stroll around the set with his arm affectionately around her. The affair produced consequences that would haunt both families for decades. In 1964, 5 years into their relationship, Tunis gave birth to a daughter, Kimber. But here's where the story takes a dark turn. Eastwood's name doesn't appear on Kimber's original birth certificate, which lists father declined. For over a year, Eastwood allegedly didn't even know he had a daughter with Tunis. When he finally learned the truth, sources close to the Tunis family revealed a shocking detail. Clint wanted to have a baby with his mistress. When she became pregnant, Clint was ecstatic. This directly contradicted the carefully constructed narrative that Eastwood and his representatives would later spin, claiming he was unaware of the pregnancy until after Kimber was born. The truth was far more calculating. Eastwood was living a double life, maintaining his marriage to Maggie Johnson, while building a secret family with Roxanne Tunis. The emotional toll on everyone involved was devastating. Maggie Johnson, despite maintaining public silence, was reportedly aware of the affair. Friends described her as asking pointed questions about her husband's fidelity, though those close to Eastwood consistently lied to protect his image. Barbara Eden, who guest starred on Rawhide and witnessed the affair firsthand, later revealed that Eastwood and Johnson conducted a somewhat open marriage, a euphemism for the one-sided arrangement where he did whatever he pleased while she remained silent. For Roxanne Tunis, the affair meant living in the shadows for over a decade. She raised Kimber largely alone while Eastwood continued his rise to superstardom. When the affair finally ended in the early 1970s, Tunis retreated from public life entirely. Neither she nor any of her 9 siblings ever spoke to the media about their relationship with Hollywood's biggest star. The secret remained buried until 1989, when the National Enquirer exposed Kimber's existence to the world. The revelation shattered the carefully maintained fiction of Eastwood's perfect marriage. When confronted by reporters, Kimber was refreshingly honest. "Yes, Clint Eastwood is my father. I must speak to him about this. I am partly shocked and partly glad it is all out in the open." But Eastwood's reaction to his daughter going public was cruel and vindictive. Kimber revealed that when her mother called Eastwood expecting financial support, he started screaming and yelling into the phone. He's so upset because he's guilty. By 1990, the relationship had completely broken down. Kimber told reporters, "I'm cut off completely. He's furious with me. He's disowned me and his grandson." The ultimate insult came when Eastwood refused to attend Kimber's wedding, forcing her to be given away by an uncle instead. Throughout this family crisis, Eastwood maintained complete public silence, allowing major publications like People magazine to deny Kimber's existence as late as 1993. When Roxanne Tunis died in June 2023 at age 93, Eastwood was reportedly devastated. A family source revealed Roxanne worshipped the ground he walked on. She didn't give a damn about the fact that Clint was a star. She was never impressed with all the money and fame. All she ever wanted was to have and to hold Clint Eastwood the man. Her death seemed to affect him more deeply than any of his other relationships, perhaps because she represented the last connection to a time when his deceptions seemed manageable. The second shocking secret, Sandra Locke and the forced abortions that haunted Hollywood. Our second revelation involves one of Hollywood's most toxic relationships and allegations that would destroy any modern career, the story of Sandra Locke and the abortions she claims Eastwood forced her to have. Summer, 1975. Sandra Locke was cast in Eastwood's film The Outlaw Josie Wales, beginning what would become a 13-year relationship that played out both on screen and off. Locke was married to sculptor Gordon Anderson, a gay man with whom she maintained a platonic relationship, while Eastwood was still legally married to Maggie Johnson. Both were living lies, but Eastwood's deception ran far deeper. What the public saw was a glamorous Hollywood couple making hit movies together. What happened behind closed doors was something far more sinister. In her 1997 autobiography, The Good, the Bad, and the Very Ugly, Locke made allegations that would shock the entertainment world. She claimed that Eastwood forced her to have 2 abortions and undergo a sterilization procedure, all because he didn't want children to interfere with their lifestyle. Locke's account of Eastwood's controlling behavior was chilling in its detail. She wrote that Eastwood complained about her using an IUD, saying it was uncomfortable for him during sex. He also opposed birth control pills, instead insisting she use a natural method taught at a special clinic at Cedars Hospital. Locke described this method as the same rhythm system that had been historically used to determine a woman's fertile days, a notoriously unreliable form of birth control. The process was both invasive and humiliating. Locke was required to have her temperature checked every morning and mark a calendar tracking her cycle. She was also subjected to regular pregnancy tests, making the entire relationship feel clinical rather than romantic. Despite these precautions, the method failed twice, resulting in pregnancies that Eastwood immediately demanded she terminate. When Locke became pregnant the first time, Eastwood's reaction was swift and merciless. He insisted she have an abortion, using his power and influence to arrange the procedure quickly and quietly. The same pattern repeated when she became pregnant again. But Eastwood's cruelty didn't stop there. After the second abortion, he convinced Locke to undergo a two-ball ligation, permanently ending her ability to have children. The bitter irony of these forced sterilizations became clear years later when Locke discovered that Eastwood had been living a double life throughout their relationship. While he was forcing her to abort his children and undergo sterilization, he was secretly fathering 2 children with flight attendant Jaslyn Reeves. Scott Eastwood was born in 1986 and Catherine Eastwood in 1988, both during the final years of Locke's relationship with their father. When Locke learned about these secret children, the betrayal was devastating. She wrote, "My mind was still searching to get all his actions lined up. For at least the last 4 years, Clint had been living this double life, going between me and this other woman, and having children with her. 2 babies had been born during the last 3 years of our relationship, and they weren't mine." The relationship's end was as cruel as its duration. In April 1989, while Locke was at work filming her directorial debut, Impulse, Eastwood changed the locks on their Bel Air home and moved all her belongings into storage. She returned home to find herself literally locked out of the life they had built together. The legal battle that followed was vicious and public. Locke filed a palimony lawsuit, alleging emotional distress and demanding her share of the wealth they had accumulated together. Eastwood fought back with character assassination, describing her in court as merely a roommate and then part-time roommate, minimizing their 13-year relationship to nothing more than a casual arrangement. The settlement included a promise from Eastwood to secure Locke a development deal at Warner Brothers, but this too was revealed to be another deception. None of Locke's 30 pitched projects were accepted by the studio, and she was never hired to direct any in-house productions. Locke eventually sued again, claiming Eastwood had secretly financed a bogus deal designed to keep her busy and quiet while effectively ending her career. Sandra Locke died in 2018 at age 74, her career never recovering from her legal battles with Eastwood. She appeared in only a handful of films after their relationship ended, effectively blacklisted by an industry that protected powerful men at the expense of their victims. The third shocking secret: the secret children hidden across America. Our third revelation exposes the full scope of Eastwood's hidden family, a web of secret children and abandoned relationships that spans decades and continues to surface even today. The most shocking discovery came in 2018 when Eastwood was 88 years old. At the Academy Awards ceremony, cameras captured him sitting next to a woman who bore a striking resemblance to the legendary actor. This was Laurie Murray, Eastwood's eldest child, born in 1954, just 1 year after his marriage to Maggie Johnson. For 64 years, neither Eastwood nor the public knew she existed. Laurie's story began with a teenage romance in Seattle, where Eastwood was stationed during his Army service. Her birth mother, whose identity remains unknown, gave birth to Laurie and immediately placed her for adoption. The adoption was handled so quietly that Eastwood never knew he had fathered a child. Laurie grew up in Washington State, unaware of her famous father's identity until she began searching for her biological parents in her 50s. When Laurie finally tracked down her birth father through DNA testing and adoption records, the reunion was surprisingly warm. Unlike his treatment of Kimber, Eastwood embraced Laurie fully, integrating her into the family and even bringing her as his date to Hollywood events. The difference in his treatment of these two daughters revealed a pattern. Eastwood accepted children who didn't threaten his carefully constructed public image, but punished those who exposed his deceptions. But Laurie wasn't the only secret child. Throughout the 1980s, while living with Sandra Locke and demanding she abort his children, Eastwood was simultaneously building another secret family with Jocelyn Reeves, a flight attendant he met at his restaurant in Carmel. Their affair produced two children, Scott Eastwood, born in 1986, and Catherine Eastwood, born in 1988. The secrecy surrounding these children was extraordinary. Both birth certificates listed father declined, and Reeves was reportedly pressured to keep quiet about Eastwood's paternity. When a tabloid finally exposed the relationship in 1990, Reeves told reporters, "Some family members tell me to file a paternity suit against Clint, but I don't want to." Scott Eastwood has since built a successful acting career, often discussing his famous father in interviews. But he's also revealed the emotional cost of growing up as Eastwood's secret son. In various interviews, Scott has described feeling abandoned and confused about his father's absence during his childhood. The pattern of secrecy and abandonment repeated throughout Eastwood's relationships. During his affair with actress Frances Fischer in the early 1990s, he fathered another daughter, Francesca, born in 1993. While this relationship was more public than his affair with Reeves, it too ended when Eastwood was photographed kissing his future second wife, Dina Ruiz. As Eastwood approaches his final years, the full extent of his hidden progeny continues to emerge. Biographers and journalists have documented at least 8 acknowledged children with 6 different women. But rumors persist that there may be others. The fourth shocking secret: the manipulation and career destruction of Frances Fischer. Our fourth revelation focuses on actress Frances Fischer and how her relationship with Eastwood followed a pattern of manipulation that destroyed promising careers while protecting his own reputation. Frances Fischer was an accomplished actress with credits in Unforgiven and other major films when she began her relationship with Clint Eastwood. Unlike his secret affairs, Eastwood's relationship with Fischer was relatively public from the beginning. They appeared together at industry events, and she starred in several of his films. In 1993, Fischer and Eastwood welcomed their daughter, Francesca, and for a moment it seemed like they might build a stable family life together. But Eastwood's pattern of emotional unavailability and wandering eye soon destroyed their happiness. In 1995, while Fischer was caring for their young daughter, Eastwood was already pursuing his next relationship with news anchor Dina Ruiz. The betrayal was devastating for Fischer, but the way Eastwood handled the breakup was even more cruel. Rather than ending their relationship honestly, he simply began pulling away emotionally and professionally. Fischer found herself gradually excluded from his inner circle and his film projects. When Fischer finally confronted Eastwood about his behavior, his response was typically cold and calculating. He denied having serious involvement with Ruiz while making it clear that his relationship with Fischer was over. Fischer watched as Eastwood married Dina Ruiz in 1996, just 3 years after the birth of his daughter with Fischer. The professional consequences for Fischer were severe but subtle. While she wasn't openly blacklisted like Sandra Locke, her association with Eastwood seemed to limit her opportunities in Hollywood. Fischer's career did eventually recover, largely because she chose not to fight Eastwood publicly or make damaging allegations. The fifth shocking secret, the 2025 biography that exposed everything. Our fifth and final revelation centers on the 2025 biography that finally exposed the full scope of Eastwood's deceptions and the devastating impact on the women who loved him. July 2025. Author Sean Levy published Clint, the Man and the Movies, a comprehensive biography that would forever change how the world viewed Hollywood's last surviving legend. The biography's most shocking revelations came from Eastwood's own words, quotes that had been buried in obscure magazine interviews for decades. In a 1963 interview with Photoplay, Eastwood had been brutally honest about his approach to marriage. One thing Mag had to learn about me was that I was going to do as I pleased. She had to accept that because if she didn't, we wouldn't be married. Even more damaging was his description of his affairs as addictive. In an authorized 1997 biography by Richard Schickel, Eastwood had compared his need for multiple women to a chemical dependency. Just became, addictive. Like you have to have another cigarette. The timing of the biography's release was significant. Published just months after Christina Sandera's death, it came at a moment when Eastwood's mortality was impossible to ignore. At 95, he was one of the last surviving stars of Hollywood's golden age, and the book served as a final reckoning with his legacy. The revelations about Clint Eastwood force us to grapple with uncomfortable questions about legacy, accountability, and the price of genius. For over 60 years, Eastwood has been celebrated as the embodiment of American masculinity, a tough guy who played by his own rules and never apologized for who he was. But the women who loved him tell a different story, one of manipulation, abandonment, and emotional cruelty that lasted for decades. At 94, Eastwood has outlived most of the people who could contradict his version of events, but he hasn't outlived the women who survived his treatment, and their voices are finally being heard. Christina Sandera's death in July 2024 marked the end of Eastwood's last significant relationship, and perhaps the end of an era where his personal behavior could remain hidden behind his professional accomplishments. What do you think about these shocking revelations? Should Eastwood's artistic legacy be separated from his personal behavior? Can we continue to celebrate his films while acknowledging the pain he caused in his personal life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and your perspectives help shape our understanding of these complex stories. If this investigation into Hollywood's hidden secrets opened your eyes to the truth behind the glamour, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're Vintage Vault, where Hollywood's most buried secrets finally surface, and we're just getting started exposing the legends who aren't what they seem. Next week, we're diving even deeper with, at 83, Shirley MacLaine finally exposed Hollywood's darkest secret. What we've uncovered about this legendary actress will shock you to your core. From occult practices to industry cover-ups, Shirley's story will challenge everything you thought you knew about old Hollywood's spiritual side. Until then, remember that in Hollywood's golden age, every cowboy had a dark side, and some secrets are too explosive to stay buried forever. This is Vintage Vault, and we'll keep digging until every hidden truth sees the light.